that diets don't work.
Right.
They don't work. Oftentimes, especially in cases of extreme restriction, like one of the most interesting studies that they did was they looked at the contestants on The Biggest Loser. Like we've actually had one of the contestants from The Biggest Loser on our podcast. And what they did was they took a group of the folks from The Biggest Loser and they tracked them for a number of years after The Biggest Loser. And what they found was the extreme restriction and extreme exercise that went along with that basically ruined their metabolism. Most everybody gained their weight back and more in that study. And so it's just kind of like a little microcosm, I think, of what's happened on a larger scale. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was a roller coaster every year for about 20 years of losing 25, gaining 30. And so by the time I went into the doctor's office of complaining of like extreme fatigue. I call it narcolepsy level tiredness. I just knew, like I told my wife, I was like, there's something incredibly wrong with me. I have cancer or I don't know what it is, but I'm extremely not well. So I went into the doctor.
How old were you? How old?
36 years old. I thought for about 6 or 8 months, I thought I had long COVID. I was just like, I had COVID really bad a couple times in the preceding year. And the second time I just never really recovered. And when I went into the doctor's office, I was at 319 pounds at that point on a 5'10" frame. So extremely morbidly obese. And he ran my A1C, which is, for those of you who may not know what that is, it's basically a 3-month rolling average of your blood sugars. It's how they determine whether you're diabetic or not. If you're above about 5.6, they say, that's getting into the pre-diabetes diabetic range. And mine was an 8. So pretty high, obviously what they call frank diabetes. So just, type 2 Frank. Yeah. Like the name Frank. So it's not pre-diabetes. It's, frankly, it's diabetes. That's the way I think of it.
Yeah. What's it supposed to be? What's the number supposed to be?
I believe it's 5.6 or below.
Okay.
And mine was an 8 or 7.9, I think. But, the thing about it is for most people, especially as you get older, you're going in for your routine physical every year. They're checking your A1C. It's a normal thing they check on a normal lab when you get your yearly done. And most people will see it creep up over a period of 10 years. It's a 5.5, next year it's 5.6, 5.7. You start to creep up and your doctor says, hey, you're in the pre-diabetic range. You might want to do something about your weight. You might want to do something about your diet. For me, I went from 0 to 100. I mean, I was never pre-diabetic, and I just, it's a sidebar, but my theory is I think COVID actually put some people who are metabolically at risk into metabolic dysfunction. And so I believe for some people, and there are some early studies that kind of show that may be the case, but whether that was me or whether it wasn't, the end result is the same. I had diabetes and the doctor goes, Dave, what do you want to do? And I'm looking at it like my dad died at 54 from a massive heart attack, and he wasn't even overweight. He's a chain smoker. He was a chain smoker, but he's a smoker. I'm not, but he wasn't even overweight. And so I'm looking at 4 kids and I'm like, how do I stay healthy? And he goes, what do you want to do?
Kids?
Yeah. 4 little kids, ages 5 all the way up to 11. And so little kids, and I'm like, I want to be around to see all the things. I want to see them graduate high school and get married. I want to coach their teams. I want to do all those things. And I don't want to be on medicine. And so my doctor says, well, you need to do the keto diet. And I was like, well, I'm willing to buckle down and do it, but I just want you to know it has not treated me well for the last 20 years. And so I left that day with a prescription for the keto diet, and I buckled down for a solid year. And it got my A1C from that 8 number down to 5.4. So non-diabetic, but my weight in 1 year, Hilary, went from 319 to 312. I lost 7 pounds in a year. And I probably lost that first 7 pounds in the first month. I just could not lose weight. My insulin levels were still off the chart. And then at that point, he was like, well, you're either a candidate for surgery or medicine. And sort of the rest is history.
So you were 36.
36. Yeah. Yeah. And then,
so tell if you don't mind telling them what happened. You did.
Yeah.
You weren't a candidate for the surgery, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So I count myself. I mean, I was scared to death of having my insides rerouted at such a young age. Like for some people, that's their only hope. For me, I felt like there has to be a better answer at this age, but I was willing to do anything my doctor said. Because at that point, I want to be alive for my kids. If you think it's going to be something that's going to make me live longer for my kids, I'll listen. I'll do what you need me to do. And so I looked into the insurance, and thankfully I didn't have coverage for bariatric surgery. But since I was diabetic, he said, you're going to qualify to get these expensive new medications. But what these medications are, and this is his words, he said, they're accomplishing hormonally what gets accomplished through bariatric surgery. In other words, most people think that bariatric surgery works because you just stop eating because you have a smaller stomach or because you're not absorbing as much, because they reroute how everything works. They reroute your plumbing. He said, but actually what happens is there's a restoration of these hormones, and they're learning more about these hormones, but they're called nutrient stimulated hormones. They're hormones your gut releases in response to eating food. And they're all sorts of screwed up in especially type 2 diabetics, right? To not get too into the science, but they have studies that show that the gut bacteria in people who are diabetic is way out of whack. And there's a certain gut bacteria that's orders of magnitude higher than it is in people who are not diabetic. And its byproduct is called DPP4, and DPP4 ruins nutrient stimulated hormones. It's like number one job is to just destroy nutrient stimulated hormones. And those are the hormones that signal to your brain that you're full. So you start to see how this becomes a biological issue at a certain point.